Hey everybody, it's Jason Will. Just want to take a quick second to remind you that my Impact Agent University conference is happening this April 11th and 12th, 2019 in New Orleans, Louisiana. Get your tickets at impactagentuniversity.com and use promo code JASON10 for a 10% discount off your tickets. Ready? Ready to rock and roll? Is that action? All right. Okay.
That's right.
All right.
Absolutely. Go. Go.
Hello everybody, it's Jason Will with
Go.
This is a real estate podcast, but we talk about leadership, personal growth, and becoming the best version of yourself. Leadership, check 1, 2, check 1, 2. Growth, best version of yourself.
Go.
So this is a real estate podcast.
All right. You know what this is, and we've rebranded everything. So this is not the Agent 251 podcast anymore. It's the Impact Agent podcast.
I love it.
So let's start with you just introducing yourself to the world. Tell us who you are and what you do and what your team looks like and the markets you serve.
Sure. Hey guys, Trey Willard, team leader of the W Group with Berkshire, Hathaway, United Properties, and we service the greater Baton Rouge area in the beautiful state of Louisiana. Been in the business since 2010. I've kind of ran the gamut of a personal assistant to a buyer's agent, to a lead agent, or to a solo agent, to a team leader, and now a team leader and a real estate coach with Tom Ferry. We just finished out 2018 was our best year to date. We finished up with 115 units sold, 31 million in production. A little short of our goal, but still a pretty good year.
Yeah, it is. Are you running a traditional team model where you've got buyer's agents, listing specialists, or you're the listing specialist? How does that work?
Yeah, so we run a pretty traditional business model. Again, if I'm a big believer in if it's not broke, don't fix it, or if it's worked really well in the past, why try to reinvent the wheel?
Right.
So we are set up currently. I have an executive administrative assistant who also kind of hybrids as our transaction coordinator. She's absolutely amazing. We recently brought on a listing coordinator. So he handles our listings from once we secure the listing, he handles everything. And he's been an amazing implementation in our business as far as how efficient everything is and happens. And I'm carrying about 28 to 30 listings right now. So he takes a big portion of that away from me, which is really helpful. So I am the listing specialist. Occasionally I will work with buyers if it's past clients, kind of VIP people, really close friends. And then we have 5 buyer agents. They will work as strictly a buyer's agent. We're developing some systems and processes to help them move into a listing specialist position. Really the experience. I think the big thing is 25 to 30 transactions on their own, and then they're going to shadow me as the listing specialist for about 20 listing appointments, and then I'll shadow them, and then we'll turn the reins over to those guys. So we want to give them the opportunity to move into that listing specialist role if they choose to.
Yeah, and we've got, I think we have like 15 agents on our team, but if you look at, we're talking about like getting raw and real here.
Yeah.
The raw and real conversation is that the listing specialists on our team are like the happiest. They're the happiest agents on the team. They tend to have more control over their schedule. They're the happiest, they're the most successful. Not every agent on our team is able to do what they do,
Sure.
But they see that and they want it. And so we're in that same area of trying to create a path to get some of these buyer's agents that are maybe getting burnt out. They're just running the roads constantly to a point where they can take listings. They can have the difficult conversation, with the seller. But, that's the struggle. And we look at, in the past, when you're setting up a team, it was like the personality profile. All right, so you're meant to be a buyer's agent. No, you're meant to be a listing agent. I don't know. I just see some of this stuff that we were taught and that our teams are built on kind of starting not to have the same validity maybe that it once had. I don't know.
Sure.
So it's interesting to hear you say that. Obviously, there's some people on your team, they're like, I think I could be a listing specialist.
Yeah, right now, I think they would all agree that they're not ready. I don't think there's one person on my team out of the 5. I have relatively new agents. All of the agents, with the exception of Whitney, have been on my team for less than a full year. My lead agent, who I was molding into be my listing specialist, Brent, actually just left the team about 2 months ago. He was ready to he's ready to, spread his wings and go solo. And I think there comes a time when most agents will, come to that crossroads when, I think it becomes about building their own brand and inevitably maybe holding on to a little bit more of their money. Mm-hmm. So it's just something I think we're always going to see in our businesses. We're going to see some turnover. With that being said, I've had to kind of change my mindset around the listing specialist role because inevitably I want to build that division out and add a few more lead sources and not be solely responsible for all of the listings and continue to grow. So we know I need an additional agent in that position so we can continue to grow as a team. So
what is the dynamic like with Whitney being on the team, with working with your wife?
It's funny, and I'll give you a little quick story. Whitney was working for a marketing company. She was doing it was an insurance, and of course it escapes me now. But anyways, she was making $40,000 a year. She had a pretty consistent schedule. Loved the people that she worked for, but she just wasn't real passionate about her job. And of course, I have the bright idea of I'm getting really busy. I'm a solo agent at the time. I have an assistant. I'm really busy. I can't work the leads. I can't work all the business that we have. So I'm like, let me bring my wife on board. This will be great. We can have, the income still coming into the house. Everything's great. So we did that, and it has to say it's been a challenge is a little bit of an understatement. And it's a lot better now than it has been in the past. And the thing is you realize, all right, we want to do this to help our financial situation. We want to do this to give my wife a little bit more flexibility where she can be with the kids and go to events and things like that. And I thought it was going to be an amazing idea. And then once I got her into the business and she started getting busy and I'm busy, it became a struggle of our schedules and time management.
Yeah. So back to the real and raw theme of this podcast, I was messaging her about, it was Diana or I was messaging her about the Impact Agent University Conference. And she's like, yes, it's on our radar. But she goes, literally, Trey and I are like ships passing in the night. Like we're going, it was around Christmas parties and she's like, we're so busy right now. But I think that's the real and raw reality of the business that we're in. It's like today, she's out showing property right now. You've got a little bit of time to do this podcast with me, and then you've got to jet and go work with clients all day. Your kids are with your mom or her mom today?
So the kids, believe it or not, Whitney left at 8 o'clock this morning. She had a showing at 8, inspection at 9. The kids are with her right now. I had a small break, ran and get my mom. She'll bring the kids back here. The kids will spend the entire day with my mom. My mom will spend the night tonight. We have a date night tonight, which we scheduled and planned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then my mom, she has to do an open house tomorrow between 2 and 4. So I'll be at home with the kids. So where I thought it was a great idea where we'd have, some time on the weekends off, like literally, I don't know the last time that Whitney, with the exception of the holidays, of course, it just passed, where Whitney and I had an entire Saturday and a Sunday where we were both off. We could spend time with our kids. We could make plans to do things. And that was the things I didn't think about, prior to bringing her on board as a team member. And aside from that, you have to be very conscious because you will take real estate home with you and you will talk about it at dinner. You will talk about it on the couch in the evening when you're trying to unwind and watch TV or read a book or whatever it may be. And it literally never, ever stops. And that's something that her and I are really making an effort to do is at a certain time of the night, like no talk about real estate or work.
Right.
Just shut it off. Let's just be with each other and be in the moment, be with our children. And, the thing is with technology and how things have progressed, over time, everyone wants instant gratification, whether it's via text, whether it's a call, whatever it may be. We live in the, of course it's escaping me now, but Uber, for example, we want a car.
It's on demand.
On-demand economy.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we live in an on-demand economy, and our clients are used to the Uber. They're used to the Amazon. They're used to pulling up Netflix and streaming a movie instantly. And we have kind of gotten spoiled by that. And we expect that in every aspect of our life, including real estate.
Right. So if she was here, talking with us. What would she say? I mean, is she enjoying what she's doing? Does she love it?
She loves it. Whitney, and I don't think she would get mad at me for saying this, but Whitney suffers from a little higher anxiety than I do. I'm a lot more laid back, a lot more even keel. And again, I think that comes with my experience in the business. I think that just comes with personality. She's just, personality-wise, she's just a little bit more anxious than I am.
Now that's me, and then Diana's like super laid back. It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I look at that, I don't get it.
So that part of the business, when we work in a 100% commission business where there's no guarantees, there's no income, there's no fixed income, and you go and you sell 3 houses or 4 houses in a month and you have a pretty good month, and then you got to go and you got to do it all over again. And you have 1 or 2 deals that blow up for whatever reason, inspections, contingencies, financing, whatever it may be. For someone who has a little higher anxiety, it's just a little harder for them to just stay in a upbeat, positive mindset all the time. There's things that happen in this business where one day everything looks amazing, and then a couple deals fall apart in your month. You could lose anywhere between $5,000 and $7,000 of income just like that.
Yeah, and I think the other problem is a lot of times the finger gets pointed back at us, and people can be very mean to us. And it's like, Diana's in mortgage now, works for Movement Mortgage. She had counseled her client, don't put anything on your credit cards. And she's had a guy go out right before closing and buy a brand new car. And just and go load up credit cards, like spend crazy amounts of money on credit cards, and turn back and look at her. And she's like, you make $200,000 a year, but you spend every single penny you make. And you own all these houses. They own all these different houses in all these places. She's like, nobody that doesn't have anything in savings should have a second home. But they point the finger back at her, and I think that it's hard for them to kind of deal with that, especially when we're talking about people who are really, really good people.
Right.
But this is an interesting conversation because it sheds a light on the fact that we're in like a super hard industry.
Very hard.
And people don't think it's hard. They think it's easy.
They think it's super easy.
Yeah, they think, there's people out there right now that think you and Whitney come home and roll around your king-size bed and just throwing money everywhere like, Demi Moore in Decent Proposal. But that's not how it works.
That is the furthest thing from how it is. One of the things I think people don't understand is when you run a business, you have a lot of overhead and a lot of expenses. And that was what was really hard for me for the longest time. And I've kind of shifted the way I look at business as far as like really looking at profitability, because you have a lot of people out there who they get their 1099 and it looks really good, and then it's like, well, what were your expenses? What's your net? And I love to have those really raw and real conversations with people's like true net. Like, what are you netting? Are you at a 30% profit margin? Are you at a 50% profit margin? Are you running a 10% profit margin or a 5% profit margin business? And depending on how many sales take place every month, and depending on what the expenses are, it depends on, how profitable you are, as a company. And, there were some months last year where we weren't profitable, or we lost, tens of thousands of dollars in a month because, things just didn't work out the way, that we hoped. But, anyways, with that being said, that is the furthest thing from the truth. Whitney and I come home stressed out 9 times out of 10 because it's like, who's going to pick up the kids from daycare today? Who's going to be at the soccer practice this afternoon? Who's going to pick up Rowan from dance at 7:30 on a Tuesday night? So we have to coordinate all the time with our schedules as far as who's where, what are we going to do? Same thing like today. She's gone all day, so we had to, I had to go get my mom. My mom's going to be here with the kids all day. I mean, before you know it, Whitney's going to be gone all day tomorrow doing an open house, and then weekend's over, kids are back at school. Mom and dad are back at our regular, job that just happens to be from 7:45 in the morning until we go to bed at 9:30 in the evening.
Yeah, and I was having a pretty candid conversation with John Wentworth, who is an amazing real estate agent in the Fenton, Michigan area. And he was like, he's like, Jason, when I was a single agent and it was just me and an assistant, I was just kicking ass, and my expenses were low and I was super profitable. But he's, like John Wentworth, I don't know if he's still doing it, but he's one of those agents that's spending $20,000 a month on Zillow. And, just got all this money going out on leads and admins and we've got podcasts and videographers. And he's like, Jason, what are we doing? I mean, you can't quantify the value on this stuff that we're doing. So it's really, really hard. And then we've got agents who look at us that are on our teams and going, gosh, look at how Trey and Whitney are living. They're so fashionable and social, and their Facebook is perfect, and they're it's just this Ken and Barbie thing. But you're really kind of pulling back the curtain and going, hey, it's not always the case.
That's right.
And what we know at a lot of these Tom Ferry events and a lot of the people that we know is that behind the GCI there's just about always a story. And it's not all a bed of roses. But then we've got agents like I have. You're friends with Jonathan Spears in the 38 area. I've got a friend Justin Dyer, who works Smith Lake. He's Mr. Smith Lake. It's him. He's got a very small team. It's him, an assistant, I think a buyer's agent. They did, I think it was 100 million or over 100 million. I think that's where your friend is. Mm-hmm. And he's got a really good life.
Yeah.
Now I'm sure there's some problems there to kind of peel back the curtain.
Sure.
But there's some things that are worth fighting for in this business.
Absolutely.
There's a direction that we're going.
Sure.
So anything that's worth doing is not easy.
Yeah. So this year, goal is to do 200 units, which would be about 50 million in volume. My buyer's agents would all be very profitable. They would all make money, and I think they would all live a pretty darn good life. And of course, that would give Whitney and I a little bit more flexibility to take a few trips and do a few extra things. I went back to reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I say back to, it's been sitting on my nightstand for a long time, and reading that book is really been a huge eye-opener for me as far as getting back to real assets versus liabilities, and really thinking in big picture, having your money work for you. And like you said, we're doing this for a bigger picture, right? And the bigger picture is, I'm super passionate about coaching, so I would love to continue to coach and build my coaching business. Mm-hmm. I would love to inevitably step out of production and be the CEO of the business. I would love to potentially expand and have an expansion team somewhere, maybe in Louisiana, maybe somewhere that we really like to travel, where I can spend, some of my time there. But yes, I'm doing all this for the bigger picture, which is in the next 20 years, 15 years from now, I want to live, like no one I know lives.
And I think you have a much better foundation for doing that, and your track will be much faster than a lot of agents out there, because you're systems oriented and you track the cost like per lead, and you're very much on top of the numbers in your business. We know Tom Ferry preaches that to no end. So I don't know. What would you say? Because there's a lot of agents out there. You ask them what their cost per lead is, they don't know. You ask them just about their basic numbers, they don't really know.
Yeah, so it all starts with tracking. We use CTE to track everything. It's Boomtown is our CRM. I can go into Boomtown. I can see what my ad spend is with them. I can see that my cost per lead is right around $4.44 some months. Some months it's $5 to $5.25. But I can look at that, and then I can go back and look at our conversions. We did 690%, inevitably a 6x return on our investment on our Boomtown leads, and we finished up right under 5. We were at 4.79 on our Zillow last year, on our Zillow spend. And this was before we had Rockerbox. We were using them as our ISA. They did an amazing job.
Right.
However, I think that the agents need to be skilled in order to follow up with those calls, because they're the ones that know the property, they know the areas, they know the location. So we had a hard time. They were passing opportunities over at like 22% every month to us, and then we were having a hard time getting them back on the phone or setting a face-to-face one-to-one appointment with these guys. And we took the leads over at the latter part of last year. So I think we did that in October. We went to scripting and role playing 3 days a week, all of my buyer's agents, and I've seen our conversions go up significantly.
Wow.
So I think obviously understanding your cost per lead is very, very big. What are your lead sources? What are your highest return on your investment in lead sources? And your team's skill level is probably the most important to convert those leads. So we've gotten back to what I like Bill Pipes likes to call the blocking and tackling, the fundamentals of real estate. What to say, how to say it, following up. Everybody knows the fortune's in the follow-up. And I've gotten my guys to really buy into that. Now, if we can just get them to call their sphere of influence, we'd be doing pretty good.
Right. And we should definitely touch on that at some point, because that's really your superpower.
Superpower.
Your sphere of influence.
Yeah.
It's most agents, it's their kryptonite. And I mean, why do you think that is? I mean, in your coaching business, are you seeing that a lot too with your coaching clients?
Absolutely. It's the fear. We all suffer from fear. And it's funny because reading the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he talks about people being successful, and you have the people who are fearful. They're fearful of something, right? And our brains are meant to protect us from things that we don't know the outcome. We put up our shields and we deflect anything that bad that could happen. So I think most people think that their sphere of influence thinks that we're trying to sell them on something. I'm trying to sell them a house, or I'm trying to list their house, or and that's why I believe there's no such thing as the perfect script. Because you've got the Keller Williams bold scripts I've heard, and the Mike Ferry's, the real aggressive scripts, like, hey, this is Trey. This is a business call. Do you have a second? If you call me and you're just consistently over and over and over asking me to provide something to you without providing me something in return, I'm most likely not going to answer those calls moving forward.
Right.
So I think the biggest thing is number one, setting the expectations. I am here. I'm a professional. I want to provide value to you. Look. Just calling to check in. How's the family? What's going on? Is there any value at all today I can provide for you? Anything. Doesn't matter if it's real estate related. It doesn't matter if it's somebody needs a good referral for a vendor, or if somebody just needs something. And I'll use this as an example. I have a friend of mine who lives down the street who's works for Louisiana State University. He's actually works for the groundskeeping, so baseball, football, you name it. If somebody ever wanted to take their family or something on the field for a football game or something, I'm just using as an example, or needed some tickets to a game or something like that, there's a couple favors sometimes you can call in from certain people and they'll help you out. But if I could do that for someone, that's something that I would love to do. So whether it's sports tickets, whether it's anything someone would need, and I can provide that for them, and I do it not because I'm looking for something in return. And I think that's the biggest problem, is people are always looking, well, if I do this, they're going to reciprocate with me, right? If I give them this, or I tell them this, or they're going to reciprocate with me. And I think you have to get out of that mindset, and it has to be all about, what can I do for them? What can I do for them? What can I do for them? And I think organically they will want to do something for you.
Yeah. It's the law of reciprocity. As soon as you do something for somebody, that seed's planted, they want to repay it.
That's right.
I think that's an amazing script. Are your agents using that for more than just SOI? I mean, I feel like this is such a universal script. If you just call anybody and go, hey, what value can I bring to you today?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, it's way more impactful when you have a rapport with somebody.
Sure.
But I guess the overall mindset of that is just, you're there to offer to be of service.
Sure.
In some way or another.
So we that's one of the things, again, getting my agents out of the mindset of lead. We've got all these leads. We've got to service these leads. Like, no. Yes, these leads are important. Absolutely. But the people that know you, they like you, and trust you are the more likely to refer you the business and to work with you than these leads are. You have instant rapport. You should call them up just to say, hello, I was thinking about you. Hey, I was in the neighborhood the other day. I was showing a property right down the street. I thought about you guys. How are you? Or, again, you've heard me say this on podcasts. You've heard me say this on stage. But, just picking up the phone and calling someone on their birthday to wish them a happy birthday, or shooting them a video via text and forwarding it over, or bomb, and just saying, hey, I was thinking about you this morning. Dude, happy birthday. How the heck are you? It's been a minute since we connected. Can't wait to connect with you soon. And
I think it's hard. I say it's hard, but maybe it's just an excuse that, we're giving our agents so many leads that they're like, when am I going to call my sphere of influence?
Right.
But one thing, when you talked about how with our teams, I think this is just universal, where it's just leads, was interviewing John David Leonard in Long Island. He said that they're banning the word lead in their office. Like, we don't say lead. They're talking like consumer.
Right.
Well, let's put. I mean, because the lead is starting to get this negative connotation. So it's interesting just how universal some of these things are. So we start off talking about like how crazy your schedule is, and just how busy you are as a parent, as a husband, as a business owner, team leader. And somebody might say, well, why in the heck is he coaching? I mean, like, are you piling stuff on? So what made you wanted to get into coaching?
It's kind of funny how it happened. So I'm a client. I'm a Tom Ferry client. I've been in the ecosystem for about 3 years. I had a coach, and I was with my coach for a year. And through the process, I felt like, I have a lot of value I can provide to other agents. And again, it goes back to me taking the path of an assistant, of a buyer's agent, of a solo agent, as a team leader, and now as a coach. It's the old story, like the dishwasher who becomes the executive chef and the restaurateur, right? I've seen every aspect of this entire business, and I felt like I just had so much value to give and help other people. That's why I pursued coaching.
And what do you think, somebody listening, I feel like personally that there's so many agents that need coaching. And I can remember I was doing one of our power lunches, which is just a lunch and learn. And there's an agent in the audience who I see like tremendous promise in. And, we were talking about, it was towards the end of last year in 2018, and we were talking about what her goals were. So basically she wants to double her business that she did. And I was like, well, great, that's what it should be. Everybody should want to double their business. My question to her, the follow-up question was, how? What are you going to do differently in 2019? And she had a few ideas, but she asked me specifically, like, what would you suggest? And the first thing on my mind was get a coach. But then I told her how much it was. So the core coaching at Tom Ferry right now, is it $5.99 a month or $6.99?
I think it's $5 and some change. It's $6 and some change. It went up. It was $5.99. Elite was $10.99, and then Mastery was $14.99, and then Team Plus is $30. Is it $2,900?
$29, yeah, like $29.99.
Okay.
So I quoted her the old pricing at $5.99, and just that was it. She's like, right. Her mouth drops. She's like, no way. But I was listening to an Empire podcast with Craig Ballantyne and Bedros Keuilian, and they were talking about coaching, and they said, the more you pay attention. But what case would you make for people that need to get into coaching or that are thinking about getting into coaching?
Again, I'm going to use an example of an elite athlete or an elite athlete, elite business person, just the best of the best. I'll use a bodybuilder for an example. Every elite athlete on the planet, every elite, I would imagine, business person on the planet, people that you think that couldn't move any further in their life,
right,
has a coach. So you look at somebody like Jordan Spieth, right? Tiger Woods, if you will, any big time bodybuilder, if anybody's into bodybuilding, like a Phil Heath, these guys are literally at the top of their game. So in order to continue to gain momentum, you've got to constantly work at it. You've got to be better, and inevitably you have to have someone to hold you accountable. So if I tell you, Jason, my goals are to do this, and not just a coach, but obviously an accountability partner can help in that sense. But I always look at it as, who is someone who maybe has been there or is going in that direction that I feel like I can really gain a lot from. So, Tom Ferry is obviously a mentor of mine, and I watch Tom level up every day. Every day he's leveling up. His sphere. And he's got like 6 coaches. Mm-hmm. I've had coaches working out, trainers. I've got a trainer now that's working with me. I have some mobility and flexibility issues and some core issues that I'm working on. I have a coach. I pay him to train me. I have a real estate coach. Yvonne Arnold is my real estate coach. I'm always looking like, what other coach can I bring into my life to help me level up? So, to answer your question, and I know this is kind of long-winded, I'm a big believer in coaching, and I think in order to get to that next level, if you want to get there, you have to do something you're not currently doing.
Right.
So I believe a coach is going to push you I believe a coach is going to hold you accountable. I believe a coach is going to give you systems and processes and direction. There's so many things that a coach can do that you can't do on your own. So it's funny because you say, $5.99 a month or whatever. And I'm like, what are you spending in your online leads? And who's holding you accountable to following up with those leads? And who's holding you accountable to following up with your sphere of influence and past clients? What systems and processes do you have in your business? And this is a real estate podcast, but I don't care if we're talking about health and nutrition. If you want to lose weight, what are you going to just eat less?
Right.
I mean, that doesn't work. It might work temporarily, but it's not going to work long term. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to change your lifestyle, right? And how do you change your lifestyle? Well, someone has to give you some direction on how you're going to change your lifestyle. So what do I eat? So we start talking about macronutrients, right? Carbs, proteins, and fats. How many times a day do I need to eat? What should I be? What body parts should I be working out in which days? How much sleep should I be getting? What kind of supplements should I be taking? And again, I'm trying to use another example than real estate. So maybe somebody who's listening can identify with us. But a coach is someone who's going to help take you to the next level and should be holding you uber accountable, right? Because that should be first and foremost, and they should be giving you direction, and they should be giving you systems and processes, and they inevitably should be there as support for you.
Yeah, and I tend to go to I feel like the sports analogy is dead on, but I tend to also kind of go to the musician. So to me, I'm about as uncoordinated of a person as you can find. But I look at somebody playing a guitar, and that just fascinates me. I'm fascinated by somebody who can do that. And I know plenty of people that get guitars, and maybe they'll learn a basic song, a Jimmy Buffett song or something really easy, a few chords. But if you want to get to where you can play that thing like nobody's business, you got to get somebody to teach you how to do it. You got to get a coach. Tom has been, I haven't really heard him hammer it lately, but he was hammering it there pretty profoundly for a while about just a hobbyist. And there's a lot of hobbyists out there, and maybe it really goes back to fear. How am I going to pay that? Where am I going to find the money to pay that? What if I've got to pay this? This bill is more important than that bill. But at the same time, they're just never going to level. They're never going to level up. Not daily, not yearly, not monthly, not anything. So I think it's really, really sad. And I was talking to an agent in Auburn, Alabama, and we were talking about this conference, and she was saying, "I'm so glad you're having this conference in the South, because I'd love to just be able to get in my car and drive." And she's been talking to a lot of agents at a lot of other brokerages and can't get anybody to go. And she's like, "I just can't believe how many of my colleagues, even my friends in real estate, won't go on a road trip with me to make an investment in themselves to grow their business."
Tom Ferry says it best: what got you here won't get you there, right? And that's one of my favorite sayings that Tom, and it's so true. And I believe you said hobbyist, and I agree with you 100%. There's entirely too many hobbyists, and I think you're going to start to see a shift in the real estate business, not just in the market as a shift, but in the real estate business. We're seeing more teams dominate. We're seeing teams and even certain individuals taking more market share than ever. But the teams is really becoming, I'm seeing teams in my office, like people who I never thought should have a team. Still, sometimes I wonder if they should be forming a team. But because it's the buzzword, it's the sexy word. But you can look at like the way real estate was done several years ago and the way real estate is done today. And you look at certain teams and some of these expansions that are taking place that are doing 2,500 to 3,000 plus transactions. A team, not a brokerage.
Right.
Not an individual, a team. And they're able to do that because they have specialists in every position. So transaction coordinators, listing specialists, buyer specialists, listing coordinators, ISAs. They have a system and a process that they follow that allows them to be significantly more efficient. And I think that's just something you'll continue to see. And I think, you have, and you said hobbyist. And again, I go back to interested versus committed.
Yeah.
I think you have a lot of people out there, they want the flexibility of the real estate. They think it's sexy. You talked about that earlier. We could watch $1 Million Listing, and we can watch guys like Ryan Serhant and the Altman brothers and these guys who sell these uber luxury, sexy properties and make big commissions. But on the same front, I would love to see what their expenses are.
Right.
What are they spending to, I know what it costs to put properties in luxury magazines and to run the kind of social media campaigns they're running and to run the videos. And I mean, it's expensive.
Yeah, I think Ryan Searhan, some of his videos, he said have cost as much as $25,000.
Oh, easy.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
Easy. So again, there's this perception of this super sexy real estate agent that Bravo has created and some of these other reality TV shows, which makes everyone want to get in the business because it's like, oh, I get to go and open a house and look at houses all day. That sounds so fun. And I can make this nice commission check at the end of the day. Funny thing is you and I, we're in two markets that my average price point was $224,000. So in order to sell $1 million property in my market, it's few and far between that we're selling, million plus. I mean, 1.5 million in my market, it'll get you about as good as it's gonna get.
Right. In our last 5 minutes here, talk about preparation, and we've had ISA come up a few times, and this is kind of a hot button topic. I heard, Tom Toole on the 5 a.m. East call, really getting passionate about the fact that he's glad that they don't have an ISA model because they script and they dialogue so much. You talked about having and outsourcing an ISA model and having success with that, but maybe your agent's not being as sharp as you want them to be with their scripts and their dialogues. Doug Etherington, a friend of ours out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, has probably, arguably the biggest and most successful in-house ISA department that we know of the people in our circle of influence or in the Tom Ferry ecosystem, all together. And I've heard him say, it works really, really well for us, but their agents have lost that grit on the phone. He's like, I don't think they can close the way they can, and that concerns him. But he's got an operations working for him.
It works well for him.
Yeah,
That's right.
I see on our team. A lot of times I will bring up agents because I have an independent a team and a brokerage. I'll bring up the team members, and we'll do live script and role play in front of the independent agents, and their eyes get so big. They're like, I have to do that to be successful. And I really think, and Gary Keller, I've heard him say numerous times on stage that scripts and dialogues are the foundation, of the business. Just to clarify where you stand on the ISA and where it has maybe a place on the real estate team.
So ISA, as far as inbound leads, again, my experience, my opinion, we outsourced it. The agents need to be skilled to take those calls. They need to set the appointments. They need to know the scripts. They need to know the dialogue. The end. They want to be successful. They have to be skilled. And again, Bill Pipes is telling everybody right now we're moving into a shifting market, which we are. It is a skills-based market. The better the skills, the more success the agent will have. I believe that 110%. On an ISA model for outbound sellers, expireds, withdrawals, for sale by owners, I believe there is a place in the real estate teams for that. That is something that we're really looking at right now. I have a few agents on my team, but I would also agree that would be part of the listing specialist role, is to be scripted and dialogued really well. They know the areas, they know the locations. They may have a house, we may have a house for sale in there. An ISA, and especially an outbound ISA, would never know those things. So I think that if you're looking at an ISA, I almost look at it as more of it's just an agent in your office who hopefully is skilled enough and can move. So say I've got some buyer's agents right now who want to get into that. They're like, we want to call for sale by owners and expires. First time in 8 years I've probably heard someone say that.
Right.
I have had some reservations in jumping into that because the sphere of influence is such a lucrative lead source for me, that I know that if I start to move some of my focus away from them, because my database is well over 1,000 of people that I know, like, trust, that I can pick up the phone and call at any point. I have a hard time making my quarterly calls to my, database just because it's so big. It's impossible. So I have the reservations and the fear of, do I jump to another lead source and then leave some opportunities on the table for what we have here? So I would like to take another agent in my office who wants to move into that listing specialist role, and we work on that, and they become the quote unquote ISA, but they're also the listing specialist. So
yeah, I think Kyle Whistle's approach is really interesting, where he has new agents start at the ISA, in the ISA position, and they kind of earn their way. I guess he pays them, hourly or whatever, in a bonus per appointment. And they earn their way up to being, a legit agent, whether that's listing or buyer side. But I've always kind of just pushed back against that, because, agents just want, they want to get in and they want to get the deal. So I thought, who would kind of want to do that? But we've recently had some agents that have gotten their license and trying to make that transition from the quote real world to the real estate world, where they needed that income. So the ISA hourly wage plus the bonus was really, really attractive for them, and it's kind of working really well. The final point I would make on this is that, especially where you're saying teams are really, really successful, it's really going back to, like, if you're on a team, you have to prepare. You said you're making your folks script practice and role play 3 days a week. And
I'd like them to do more, and I think 3 sucks. I think three is crap. I think they need to be doing it 5 days a week. Honestly, again, what do you want? Do you want to be the best? Or do you want to be mediocre? If you want to be mediocre and you only want to script and role play for 2 or 3 days a week, that's okay. But I want the best.
Right.
I want the people that want to be. My goal is to be not only the number one real estate team in the greater Baton Rouge area, but to be the number one real estate agent in the entire state of Louisiana, and then continue to expand. If I'm not pushing myself to level up, what am I doing? Right? So I want these guys to want it, and they have to have that. They have to want it. I can't make them want to be the best. I can't make them want to be, $100,000, $200,000 a year earner. That's on them, right? But what I do know is, if they put in the work and they show up, and again, we talked about the compound effect earlier today.
Yeah.
If they were to do the scripting and role play practice every single day, and they did it for 15 or 20 minutes every day, and they made their calls consistently just between 9 and 11, and if they want to make some afternoon follow-ups between 4 and 6 and whatever time, if they did that every single day, they would build an unbelievable real estate business. That's a fact.
And what you have, on the other side of this is agents, and it's a big part of it is it's 100% commission sales, but they need the deal so bad. They want the deal so bad. They're chasing the deal. When the opportunity finally comes, they can't close it. They don't know what to say, and the opportunity goes away. So it just goes back to what you were saying, I think, where you need somebody to offer you direction, to hold you accountable. That could be a coach, that could be a mentor and accountability partner in your office. But these professional athletes, these bodybuilders, these professional musicians, these elite people in their field, they prepare like crazy. There's no such thing as luck. It's preparation. All right, I think that's a good ending point. Trey Willard, if somebody wants to buy real estate, buy, sell, or invest real estate in Baton Rouge, how do you want them to get in touch with you?
So I did this before. I'll do it again. I gave out my cell phone with Bill Pipes.
That's a great interview, by the way, which you can find on YouTube.
Real Success.
Success.
Bill Pipes. If you Google Trey Willard, it should pop up. But Trey and Bill Pipes, Real Success. But yeah, my cell is 225-413-4835. Very easy to find me on social media, on Facebook. I'm kind of running out of friend requests.
Right.
So shoot me a private message is what I usually tell people. I try not to just add people to add people. I try to add people that I know that, that I can, again, provide value to if possible. Instagram is, we're on there. We're on every social platform. So
well, thank you.
Easily find me.
Again, this is the first Impact Agent podcast. So it was the Agent 251 podcast.
Yeah.
So you're the first one in our rebrand. So honored to have you as our guest. And I know you're super busy, and I appreciate you carving out some time for us.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks, Trey.
Thanks for listening to the Impact Agent Podcast. If you liked the show and got something out of it, please like Impact Agent Podcast on Facebook and rate and review the show on iTunes or anywhere you listen to podcasts. This really helps us grow the show and helps other agents find it. Please share it with your friends and coworkers as well. Want us to deliver the show to you via email every week? Then email me at jason@impactagentuniversity.com, and we'll send you the show every week. Please let us know what you think about the show, what you like, what you don't, or possibly make a suggestion about a topic you want to hear. Email me at jason@impactagentuniversity.com or leave us a message on Facebook at Agent 251 Podcast. Until next week, everybody be productive, safe, and happy, and always keep learning. This podcast is produced by Johnny Gwynn at Deep Fried Studios in Mobile, Alabama, and is paid for and powered by ImpactAgentUniversity.com.